I don't think you can be too transparent.
Okay.
Like whatever you're kind of comfortable with.
Because it's kind of short and sweet. I don't know how long you want this to last, but it's kind of like,
What
you know what I mean? It's like it works, like it works.
And that's it. Welcome, everybody, to Outside the Box Stories. I am with my good friend Julie here, and as you can see, well, actually, you might not be able to see this because we usually do a green screen behind us, so I don't know what the background is right now, but we're in Kingsport. We're in the Kingsport office, our little studio back here, and Julie, I'm just so glad to have you back on the show. We had an amazing story the last time you were here.
We did. It was awesome.
We had so much
fun. Thank you for having me back. Yes.
And I hope all day long you think about all the different stories that you can tell so that we can have you back on the show.
We've been making notes.
And today I think you have some stuff you want to talk about, but I want to prompt this with, how do you view weight loss? Weight loss is on a lot of people's minds right now. It's mid to late March. What's your thoughts on weight loss? What are you seeing in office?
I think, given the fact that you said we're into March now, it's been a year since COVID hit the Tri-Cities pretty hard, and a lot of people had to quarantine. And those people are now coming in the last 2 months and saying, I want to lose my COVID weight. That's been the phrase.
Is that not wild? There's COVID weight.
There's COVID weight.
Yes.
And I feel it. I've been on that journey.
So, okay, people are coming into the office talking about COVID weight. Have you experienced some COVID weight gain?
No. Yes, I have.
Honestly, I have too. It's been like a behavior thing for me. Like I have COVID behaviors that I've gotten into. Ooh. that I'm trying to work my way out of, like certain routines that I've noticed aren't super healthy and could lead to weight gain. And is that part of your journey?
Oh yes. Yes. I almost feel like we need a psychologist in the room.
I know. We can be that for each other right now.
Exactly.
Yeah, we're helping each other out. So tell me about, COVID weight gain. Is that kind of what prompted you to start this weight loss journey that you're on currently?
Yes. My first step was my hormones.
Okay.
I wanted to see where my hormones were at based on what Dr. Rogers was talking to me about. I got those checked, realized they were bottomed out, and I needed help there. And then I saw Andy, and Andy said, let's not do everything at once. Then we won't know what's being effective at the moment.
So real quick, can you tell the people listening, what do you mean by bottom out? When you say your hormones have bottomed out, what does that actually mean from a lab standpoint?
My testosterone was extremely low, okay, to where Dr. Rogers asked me if I was getting out of bed daily. Yeah, it was that low.
Okay.
And I knew there was a problem. I just kept thinking it was my vitamin D
mm-hmm.
that was super low because I was taking 50,000 units a week. And I thought, that's probably it, right? And he said, no, let's check your testosterone and see where that's at. And yeah, sure enough, he said, oh, it's time. So we moved into testosterone therapy and progesterone nightly. And before I knew it, I was feeling 110% better.
So when Andy said, hey, let's take things one thing at a time, what I'm assuming is they were like, okay, let's take care of the hormones first. So you got on therapy there. And then, what was the next move, and why was there a next move?
Yes. Well, because once you get your hormones straightened out, according to Andy and Dr. Rogers, it does give you a certain level of energy to where you do feel like you can do the things that you once didn't want to do or couldn't do. Mm-hmm. So he's like, let's just give it some time and get that straightened out first. So it took about 2 months to get my levels to, pretty normal, right? And so the level he, advised it to be at that moment.
Got it.
So once we got there, I said, okay, can we start on the weight loss? And so he talked to me about the regimens that I had tried in the past and were they successful. And I told him I wanted something simple that I didn't have to think about every day. So that's when he moved me into the wonder drug.
You see what she did there. She left is that what do they call that, a cliffhanger?
Yes.
That was a cliffhanger. But before we get to the cliffhanger, I'm assuming what happened here is, I love what you just did, by the way. Like I think they're on a cliff right now.
I know. You'll find out in 10 minutes.
So it's actually really interesting though. Like you got this energy, you got your energy back.
Yes.
And then you address the weight loss. I find that fascinating. So if people get on hormones, can they expect immediate weight loss, or can they expect, over the course of a month or two to get your energy back so that you can do things that might contribute to weight loss?
I think it depends on motivation and habits, because we're all kind of pushed into this quarantine type situation where, as we spoke about just a few minutes ago, you put yourself in these situations where your habits just pick right back up. Mm-hmm. So your motivation has to step in to say, put those chips down, or don't get this, or don't choose that, choose this instead. So with me, when I was addressing my hormones, it definitely gave me the energy. It wasn't nothing like it curbed my appetite or anything. So those cravings were still there. But I was more mindful of it because I was working on one thing to get to the second goal, which was weight loss. So with that being said, I did choose better things over the other. But did I see significant weight loss? No.
Okay.
Did I lose a couple pounds? Yes, but it was nowhere near what my goal was.
You felt a change from an energy standpoint?
Yes, sir.
You just feel better?
Yes, 100% better.
Got it. Okay, so for everyone waiting, what is this wonder drug?
Ozempic. And it's probably one of the most amazing drugs out there for weight loss. It's an injection. It's once a week. You start out at a very low dose to get your body used to it for 6 weeks. And once you're acclimated to that, then you can increase the dose at that point if the doctor or PA says that you can do that.
When you say, what do you mean by get used to it? Because I know there's something to that, and I know there is a stepwise increase. Can you just kind of talk about that?
Yeah, there is. At first, I didn't know what they meant when they were like, we're going to have to see if you can tolerate it, right? And I was like,
right. Like, what does that mean?
Okay, I'm sure I'll be fine, right? And so my first injection, Sherry helped me with, and they teach you how to do it on your own. And she said, this is what the most common side effects are. Nausea was number one, and that's the one that most people feel. And I did have nausea. I just worked through it. I drank a bunch of water when I got really nauseous. The funny thing that I wouldn't advise, but it worked for me, was I kept pretzel bites around just to put something on my stomach at that moment. Helped me just a little bit. And it wasn't like a whole bag. It was just like 2 pretzel bites. And then I felt tons better at that point.
So when you say nausea, are you only feeling that the day you take the shot, or is that like throughout the week?
Throughout the week.
Okay.
And I would say after less than 2 weeks, I was good.
So you got used to it over the course of 2 weeks, and then you stayed on the weekly shot and didn't feel quite as nauseous.
I didn't feel any side effects. In fact, I felt better. I had explained to Andy that I had shaking in between meals. So I would shake really bad. Mm-hmm. And interesting enough, there was a doctor that I previously seen that was looking into different things that may be happening behind the scenes with that. And once I started taking Ozempic, I had no shaking at all.
Huh. So the shaking was before the Ozempic, and then you might have felt it in between meals while you're on it at the beginning, and then that slowly went away?
Oh, it went away immediately. After
wow.
the first shot. I never shook again.
Okay.
So I would just naturally, my hands would just shake all the time. And it was really interesting. And Andy was like, that's a true testimony to how great this drug is.
So tell me a little bit about you're on this shot, and like what's happening? Are you just not as hungry? Like how is that equaling weight loss? You're taking a shot. Are you just not as hungry? I guess is the question.
It's such an easy drug to take.
Okay.
I mean, it's probably one of the best out there. When people tell me that they do HCG, which is awesome, I've done it before. It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of willpower. I can't say the same thing with that. This was easy for me. I mean, I made myself eat nutritious things because I knew my body needed the nourishment, but it was easy. You just ate when you were hungry, which was rarely, honestly. So I talked to Andy about it, and I would eat a very good lunch. That would be my calories for the day, and then I fasted for the rest of the time.
Interesting. So that was the big thing, was that it curbed your appetite. And I'm also hearing that you were craving healthier foods.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yes. I don't want sweets.
Huh.
So if you have a sweet tooth, this is your drug. But I didn't have a huge sweet tooth, but I never wanted to. I mean, I could watch people eat sweets and I was fine. I mean, that's just the way it affected me. I mean, I'm sure everybody's story is different, possibly, but I never wanted sweets. I just stayed away from anything that was sugary. And
were you looking at insulin levels or sugar levels out of curiosity? Because I want to say Ozempic is a something that we use for diabetes as well. Is that true?
Yes. So Andy figured out that I had some insulin resistance because of the shaking.
Oh.
So he said even though it didn't show on my labs truly that I was pre-diabetic or diabetic, he said there was insulin sensitivities there that was causing the shaking. So when I explained to him that when I ate, depending on what I ate, it would go away. So here's what happens. If there's anybody out there that has insulin sensitivities that has the shaking from not eating let's say every 3 hours, it worked for me. It 100% changed my life because I was getting to where I felt hangry. You know, when you're truly so hungry, you can't even think straight and you get really angry because you need food. I had that all the time. So if I didn't eat every 3 hours, you would see that part of me. And it was hard to control. Well, guess what? If you had to eat on the fly every 3 hours, guess what you choose?
Bad stuff.
Snickers, whatever you can get. But this changed everything.
So I'm sure a lot of you guys are thinking, and I'm thinking as well, how long do you have to stay on this? Is this something you're on the rest of your life, or is this like a program you're on where it's like, okay, I'm going to do this for a month? What's the protocol for that?
I think you need to sit down with someone in our office and chat with them about what your goals are and where you want to be as far as your weight loss journey. And it depending on your age, weight loss is different for everybody. I'm in my 40s, so weight loss is a little different for me. I didn't want to lose down to where I was all skin and bones. I'm working on toning and tightening some areas too. And interesting enough, we have things for that too, which I'm looking into. But I knew that when I got to the weight loss that I've lost now, I want to maintain. So Andy's going to keep me on it. Number one, to kind of keep my weight loss at where it's at right now, so I won't gain before I get to my true goal, right? But also because I have insulin resistance.
So this is something that you're planning on staying on for a little bit?
Yes.
Okay, so it's going to be a part of your routine and part of your maintenance program?
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. It's going to be a lifestyle change basically. And I'll wean off of it at some point. Who knows when, but immediately when you stop taking it, the cravings come back, your hunger comes back full force. So until you reach your goal, you really need to stay on it.
Is that what you're seeing in office as well with other patients who are on it? Are they sticking with it for kind of long term, or are they using it for kind of a short term, trying to quickly get the weight off, which we're huge proponents of because it's a big motivator. But I'd be interested in what a lot of patients are doing, because you're saying it's largely dependent on what your goals are.
Yes. It's kind of all over the board. It depends on where they are in their weight loss goal and journey. Basically, it's a journey for everybody. Yeah. Because you can't just change and then expect it to completely go away on its own. It has to be something that's life-changing for you. So, I'm incorporating more exercise and walking in. There's toning and tightening that I, of course, need to do. I've backed down from the high dose down to half of that now, just to kind of maintain, because I know my body doesn't need the full dose at this point. And that's what I'd recommend for people watching and listening to, just stay very transparent with the people in our office that are going to be speaking to them about Ozempic, and really dig in deep to what your goal is, and just let them know what it is so that they can help you along. And Ozempic's one of the easiest things that I've ever taken, just because it curbed my appetite so much that I never had to try to lose it. It really just happened.
I'm hearing so much from you today, and I'm so glad that you're telling this story, because one thing Dr. Rogers talks a lot about is in regards to weight loss, which is super complex, is, number one, you need a why. You need a why that you're going to lose the weight. And a lot of people, with COVID this past year, we're right around the recording of this, it's been a year. The COVID weight gain is a huge why for a lot of people.
Yes.
And then the second thing he talks about is you need a tool to get there, a tool to help you get there.
Yes.
Whether that's a nutrition plan or a medication like Ozempic, there's quite a few that we use in the office.
Yes.
And then accountability, and you have built-in accountability, inside of our office, and
yes.
All the patients in there do as well.
Oh yes. Yes.
But it's really interesting how something. I'm just really glad that we're able to talk about this, because Ozempic is one of those tools that we really like and has had huge success stories. So thank you so much for sharing that. I think that'll help a lot of people.
Absolutely. Yeah. I hope it does. I hope if they've been on the fence about it and not sure what to do, and whatever the weight loss goal is, Ozempic can help you get there, honestly.
Now, for the person, real quick, because I want to be respectful of your time, for the person trying to choose between Ozempic and maybe HCG, or maybe, just getting on something like phentermine, or just, going on a keto type diet, how would you suggest people look at that in terms of making that choice? Is it all based on what you're trying to accomplish?
I think it depends on how much you need to lose. And again, I would say consult a professional, but based on what I'm seeing in the office, if you've got the vein 10 pounds to lose, 15, something like that, that you don't feel good with it on your body. You just felt better without that extra 15 pounds. I would say short term would work probably really well for that, right? Like HCG,
okay,
phentermine, something like that. But if it's a significant amount of weight loss that you need to achieve, I would definitely look into Ozempic and see, where you can go with that. Okay.
Well, Julie, I have to ask, because if you're a Kingsport patient, or if you come to our Kingsport office, you're going to see her beautiful face. She is one of the first people you see in our office, and we are so lucky that that's the case. I have to ask you, we have an event coming up. Yes. It's going to be in our Johnson City office with the Evolve device. That is body contouring, so it's not necessarily weight loss. A lot of it is the skin tightening and the toning that Julie was talking about. Mm-hmm. Are you going to be there? Can I count on you to be there? Because I will be there.
I would love to say I'm going to be there, but they need me in Kingsport, so I'm going to stick around here.
Okay.
But I want feedback for sure if you're going to be there.
Well, we'll see what we can do. I might have to change that. But that event is April 13th. I do not know the time, but I'm hoping that we'll have I'm having there we go, 5:30 start time for the event with Evolve on April 13th.
And we do need people to RSVP to that.
We do need people to RSVP. You can call the Johnson City office. That is 423-328-3386. Yes. Julie, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
I hope you have so many more stories to come.
I hope so too. I hope weight loss is not another one of them later on, but but we got there. And for everybody out there wondering what they can do and if they need to make the call, I would do it.
Okay. Julie, thank you so much. Guys, thank you so much for joining us and hanging out with us these 25 minutes. I'm Ben, and this is Outside the Box Stories. Don't go away.